Other questions?
Wendy, what sort of challenge do you face in trying to sustain this next year, given the staff reductions?
I think that one of the other things that's occurred, Karen, is in particular teachers are beginning to realize that no one's going to come to save us, that we're going to have to figure out how to sustain and how to focus and how to do what's expected of them without expecting there being anything extra. So when you have this focus that you can get it done by working together, that's another piece that we didn't talk about, that the power of sustaining this lies in the professional learning communities we've created, Karen. The fact that the coaches and people who are teachers themselves are learning how to help each other without us having to use outside resources to bring in a consultant or a specialist or to start a different program. So part of this is to sustain it, you have to own it. That you're not looking for something else to be the reason why you either can do it or you can't do it. We are having teachers understand that the most powerful help they get is from the person next door. We have principals that know and believe that no one in downtown should know that downtown Growl should know their data better than they do. So we're training people in the district to be able to do the kind of support work and the analyzing of data and the actual pumping up each other that traditionally educators have to bring somebody else in to do. Now, the sad part's going to be, as we continue to cut and to cut and to cut, the stimulus funds are going to go away next year. We still don't have complete funding for full-day kindergarten. That's another piece of this puzzle. As you're starting to see where the increases and where the growth is, it's based upon a lot of the things we put in place that it's easier to keep it sustained if you can make sure the students have a foundation earlier. You're not always having to remediate or to take side trips or spend your forces and your money remediating rather than pushing kids to higher achievement. So I'm trying to give you an answer that I don't really know the answer, because here's the biggest thing. The hardest job we're going to have is keeping staff members positive. With all the things we're doing to adjust to the financial issues, the leave process, the changing of the job descriptions, the accountability at the state and federal level, it could be very easy for our internal staff members just to get depressed because it's too much to do. But one of the reasons we put this up here is you have to get kind of excited. It doesn't take much to excite a teacher when you see it actually worked. And not only did it work, but the kids I had last year, the next year they sustained what happened last year. So it's just going to be that good old-fashioned Karen. You know, we educators believe in Santa Claus still, and we're just going to have to keep pumping each other up. And we really have to realize that we can get it done. It's the first step. And we have to be realistic. It's about growth. The cut score is one thing, but it's whether that you can actually demonstrate that an individual student grew. I know I didn't answer that because there is no answer. And if anything keeps me awake at night, that's it. How do you keep people pumped up and positive when, as Mr. GiaQuinta says, they don't hear all of this. They don't hear that this is good. Somebody's going to say, well, you didn't get 70%. Well, look at where the students started. Look at where we took them. Look at the increases. Look at sustaining it. That really, and I appreciate the board understanding that it is about the growth. It isn't about just that single number. It's about the whole package. So, other questions? Ask Mr. Klein something hard. Something detailed.
Well, John, I would like to ask, I know you're plugged into what's going on at the state level. I know we don't have numbers, but are you catching word of any statewide trends? Is there any discussion among districts of how?
Yeah, there's a group of us that talk to each other almost a minute after we get the results and start to talk about how we're going to analyze them so on. And there are other districts urban districts that have results that may not exactly match ours, but they're seeing positive trends as well. I can't talk about the whole state. I don't know how to talk to everybody in the state. Don't know what the state numbers look like. Probably won't until June 10th or later.
And can you talk a little bit more about the Blackhawk and Memorial Park?
Yes, yeah, that's a real simple thing. When students take a test, there are two kinds of booklets. There's a test booklet and there's an answer booklet. The answer booklet gets scanned and scored, and it gets shipped one place, and these get shipped another. And the color of the label determines which box goes where. For those two schools, we got the labels mixed up. So the answer sheets went to the place to not be scanned. They've now been corrected, but not in time to get the data out, and they won't be. They've been scanned, I think. They won't actually be scored until the rescore window is over, which is July 2. Another way to say it is human error.
I'm curious, do the preliminary results in the past, did they vary much from the final results?
We've really not had to worry about preliminary
Yeah.
results in the past because we've received everything all at one time. This year we received some reports early, and those reports are basically at the student level and the classroom level. We don't have official school results or district results yet. So instead we have a file, an Excel file, now that's got 13,700 and some records, and we're able to play with that a little bit. We've never had to do that in the past because we've had a report called the disaggregation summary that's given us that data, and this year we don't have it. That's why we're calling them preliminary. They might be a little different by June 10th. We don't expect them to be much different, but we really don't know yet.
But I think the other part of the answer to that is the numbers game. It could fluctuate a point. The trend is the issue. The trend of what happened with 3rd grade to 4th grade. That's the story. Because as an urban district, we're never going to get to 100% every place all the time. It's going to be hard for any district to do that by 2014, as AYP is claiming we're supposed to. But the story is the trend. The story is at every single grade level. That's never happened in my time. And so if it fluctuates by a point with the increases we're seeing, the story is the trend. You understand what I'm saying? And we don't expect for the trend to change at all.
Do you know, has that happened in the history of the district before, or is it too hard to tell about?
He's been here. Me too, but he's been responsible.
No, it hasn't happened, but it really wasn't as possible to happen until the way that it worked this year. So it's a new era. And if we're really lucky, it won't happen again.
John, this new growth model that the state is moving toward, for all these two developments together, how will this play into?
Well, I think the best indication we have about what's going to happen with the growth model is what Dr. Robinson was showing earlier with looking at the cohorts going from 64 to 70. That would seem to indicate that there is growth that has taken place. It doesn't. That's growth at the school level or at the district level, not growth at the individual level. But typically, those two are tied together. So I would expect, at least, or I would anticipate that the median growth percentile for schools in our district would be higher this coming in. But that really depends upon what happens with all the other districts in the state as well.
But you know, there's also a danger, because this is an average. And last year with our 3rd grade ISTEP scores, we had one set of scores that distorted the average. So part of when I said this is about trends, we can get hung up on those numbers, which are averages. But for us, what we're looking at, which is the power of this whole process, is we now have teachers and administrators looking individual child, from October to December, from December to February. That's a totally different conversation than we have been having in this district. The growth model, Karen, forced that. Because when you can hide in averages. These are good for us. The trend is good for us. But what a parent would be concerned about, and what we are now concerned about more than we've ever been, is demonstrating individual growth student by student. And I think that the part that will sustain it, Karen, is that people actually know how now to analyze individual growth student by student. They used to always call John. Now they call John and Jack Bird to say, now I need this report because it didn't tell me, the last one didn't tell me enough. And that's a difference when people actually can diagnose what they need to be able to do a better job with students. It's not just getting ISTEP scores after it's over, it's over. People are tearing this data apart. They will be tearing it apart until school starts again in the fall.